Yes, Hope has finally done the right thing. Hey guys, and welcome back to the deep dive with Toya Creates. OMG, I was out of pocket all of last week because it was my baby's birthday, so it is what it is. So I did catch up and I am ready to go through the entirety of last week plus today's episode. So, per usual, thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I would love to have you join in on this conversation. So, we are going to get into the entire week of May 18th for the bold and the beautiful. And then we're going to culminate with today's May 25th episode. So, last week was pretty mid, I would have to say. There was just a lot of buildup, I feel, that led to today's episode. So, back on Monday, May 18th, we saw the reconciliation of Electra and Dylan. So, they both expressed to each other that their friendship was important to each other and they miss each other. And Electra's finally ready to just move on and Dylan is thrilled. She's very happy that this has been discussed and she is ready to move on. So of course, when she and Electra finally reconcile and they are hugging, we see the door open in the background a little bit because they're in the Forrester office just talking this all out. This is after Daphne basically made them talk about things. And so you see the door opening and you don't see who's there, but why isn't Remy yet again? He's just standing in the doorway and Dylan's like, she's hugging Electra and she's like, get out of here. So he leaves and then Electra heads out, but she does not see Remy. And this is his second breach of the Forrester office. So then Remy comes into the office after Electra leaves, and Dylan is like, what are you doing here? They just had a run in a week or two ago. And, Remy was there begging Dylan to basically put in a good word for him with Deke so they could get back together. And he wants to make amends with Electra, but he is more so focused on getting back with his boo thing. Okay. Now, Dylan had just been promoted to Daphne's assistant at that point, and Dylan was like, she needs to look out for herself, which she does, because Remy is a crackpot, but okay. And so he just is like, la, 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 like, this is all a joke. And she's like, what are you doing here? Like, I already told you this was dangerous. I already told you I got a promotion and that we cannot be seen together yet. Here you are. And he's like, what? What? He makes me sick. Okay. Because he's totally downplaying what has occurred with his deep fakes and all of the nonsense that he did. And he's just like, ugh. So Dylan once again shuts it down. And she tells him point blank, period, he cannot be around her. And he definitely can't be around Electra. And that's where they leave it. So he's just like, I mean, he's been told this is what, the third time? So he's like, okay, I'll leave. And I'm just like, girl, why didn't you call security? Whatever. Speaking of security, we finally see Charlie because Finn has stopped by the office and he's brought adorable little Hayes with him to come visit his mommy. Now, Steffi at this point is still like processing Ridge basically asking her to step down in favor of his destiny. So Steffi is just like, she's a little agitated or down in the dumps. So, Hayes is there and Charlie. Lo and behold, where have you been? Charlie, you've missed two security breaches, if not more, in the past few weeks. But when Hayes is there, Charlie has appeared. Okay. It's cute. He's good with the kids. He's, like telling Hayes, like, oh, you need a badge and this and that. And oh, I'm going to help you get it. And I'm security. But I was like, you don't secure sugar honey iced tea in this building, but whatever. So Finn allows Hayes to go off with Charlie so they can like get his little badge and just to give him time with Steffi. Electra is also there and she also helps with monitoring Hayes, because everybody's their kid's babysitter. God forbid Finn and Steffi raise their own kids, but okay. So then Finn and Steffi are alone, and he is just getting the update on everything, and he just cannot believe that Ridge did this to his Steffi. Steffi's just venting about everything and blah, blah, blah. So basically it what happened there. We then go back to Brooke's home because at this point Ridge is letting Brooke down. Okay. Ridge is telling Brooke that she can't be co-CEO and he cannot do this to his daughter. And you know what? Brooke took it surprisingly well because I thought it was going to turn into this whole like snowball of emotions and stuff, but Brooke was just like, instead of still pushing for the co CEO role, she just pivots to asking Ridge to basically go to bat for Hope to make sure the Hope for the Future relaunch happens instead of her being co CEO. So finally, you're being a good mother. So then Brooke takes it a step further and she actually sends a very nice complimentary text to her stepdaughter Steffi telling her that she is a great CEO. And Steffi surprisingly is very touched by this. I'm like, you know what? There is hope for Steffi and Brooke yet. Steffi really appreciated the message and she responded with a heart. I was just like, oh my. And Ridge, he and Brooke were still talking when this text exchange went forth. Well, actually, he had designed a dress for her. He brought that home. I felt like to try to throw her off from the fact, like, you can't be co-CEO. But then I'm also like, girl, he had to be working on this dress prior to this, whatever. So he has this new creation for his muse, and he brings it home, and he's letting her down gently. But then he's like, please go and try this on. And she says she will. And when she was upstairs, she was texting Steffi. So then when she's back downstairs with Ridge, that's when Steffi responds. And Ridge was like, oh, what was that? And Brooke tells him what she did independently, might I add. And Ridge is just like floored that Brooke would do this because Brooke is Steffi. Steffi can't stand her. But I get it. But whatever. So it's really a lot of progress for them. And Rich is just like so happy. Like, I can't believe you did that. And Brooke's like, she just wants to keep the peace. And one thing led to another, and basically it was time for her to give Ridge Brooke's bedroom per usual. And that's basically how Monday's episode ended. So remember, Brooke has been let down gently. She accepts it and she hops into bed with her destiny. Okay. So then Tuesday comes along and we see Steffi and Taylor at Steffi's house. Everything has blown over from the whole Deacon Taylor Sheila debacle. Okay. So Steffi is talking to Taylor about what Ridge suggested, and Taylor was like pissed. She was just like, oh my God, I can't believe Ridge would even suggest that you be demoted. And they just talk about the whole situation. So then Steffi also tells Taylor that Brooke actually sent her a really nice message, and she hates to admit it but that message really meant a lot to her. And so Taylor starts to change her mind a bit because a couple of years ago Taylor and Brooke were besties, and I thought that was gonna last, but it did not. But Taylor was like, oh, maybe Brooke really does love Ridge. Now, Taylor, that has never been in question, at least from my perspective. It's very clear that Brooke loves Ridge. It's damn near an obsession. I have another word for it, but it's not appropriate. But it starts with a D and it ends with igmatized. Because that has never been the issue with them. Them being consistent and faithful to each other, from my perspective, has been the issue. But so then we see the dream team, Zende, RJ, Eric, and Ridge working together on some fashions, and Zende is just ugh, he's just there. The week before that, he had opened up to Carter to let him know how he was really feeling about the way Hope for the Future was being treated and how he felt like Hope and he were getting screwed, and that he didn't say anything to Eric and Ridge yet because they had been so busy or whatever. So they are all working together, and Zende is just he's noticeably out of character. And so eventually Ridge goes over to him and he asks him, like, is everything fine? And Zende starts opening up to Ridge about how much he's missing Hope for the Future, how he's missing that autonomy. He feels away. He definitely feels away, and he feels like RJ is being elevated over him. He feels like he has put in the work and this is not fair. He feels like he's getting screwed along with Hope, and he also wants to know when the line that they worked on for so long is going to be released. Now, Ridge is starting to get irritated at this point, and he's like, I'm going to do it because I promised my wife. Now, why is that the only reason that's needed for you to make progress on this fashion line? Like, do you hear yourself, Ridge? You're only going to do it because you promised Brooke? What about Hope? What about Zende? What about Thomas? I mean, I guess Thomas doesn't care since he's off in Paris doing whatever he's doing, but I'm just like, okay. So, yeah, Ridge declares that he's gonna do it, because he promised his wife, and he's asking Zende just to be more patient. The usual song and dance, and Zende does not want to hear it. Okay, so yeah, that was basically it for that. Not much going on. Just to say, I think we were like story building over last week. So then we also saw Bill and Liam still debating whether Hope would join Logan. Katie was there as well. And just going back and forth. Bill thinks that Hope should leave that dusty old fashioned house alone and come get with the winning team with your family who actually wants you and will prioritize you. And so they still debate that, which they have been doing for a while at this point. So I'm not even going to go into depth there. So while they are doing that, Hope has been waiting with like bated breath to get the update from Brooke on Ridge's decision, because you will remember that Hope was the one who started this ball rolling, because in Hope's mind, if Brooke were co-CEO, that would make things easier in terms of Hope for the Future. And she feels like her mother, I mean, according to her, she feels like her mother has also not been treated fairly or properly at Forrester, and that it's time for her mom to have more for herself. So Hope is just like really, really depending on this decision, because basically the outcome of Brooke becoming co CEO or not becoming co CEO is going to impact Hope's future there. So Hope goes over to Brooke's house and she's just like, oh my God, like what did Ridge say? And so Brooke sits Hope down and she's just like, Ridge did give me an answer, but you're not going to be happy with it. And then she just talks about how Ridge said no to Brooke being co-CEO because he couldn't do that to Steffi. And Hope is just like, girl, devastated. She is beside herself. Even though she's like, you can see it on her face. She's just like, she didn't lash out or anything too much in the moment. And Brooke is just all like, la 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 la. Brooke is on her usual, like, oh yes, I trust my destiny. He's gonna do it and blah blah blah. And Hope is like, no, I'm tired of this. She is sick of the empty promises. She is sick of being undermined at every turn. She has what people call the Sunday night blues. You know, when you get that pit in your stomach the night before it's time to go back to a job that drives you insane or a job where you have some type of anxiety. That is Hope right now. And she's just like, how long do I have to like deal with this? And Brooke's just trying to tell her to be patient and this and that. And, this has literally triggered like every insecurity Hope has with her mother because, they've had their moments of ups and downs. But Hope is fully like, you have once again chosen Ridge over yourself and over me, and Hope is sick of it. So she tells her mother, this is how it ends on Tuesday. She's just like, you really have no idea how much is riding on this. And I needed you, Mom, and you let me down again. So that's how it ended on that day. So then we get to hump day. This is the 20th of May. And Brooke is just trying to explain her reasoning to Hope. Brooke realized that she could not and should not have put Ridge in the middle. And that it was wrong for her to do that to him. And she saw how much it affected him, and she would never want to get in between his relationship with his daughter. But Hope, again, she's just like, no, I don't want to hear this anymore. You are still choosing Ridge over everything. And I understand why Hope feels that way based on what she's seeing. But you know what, Hope? You were being sneaky trying to oust Steffi. So the game is the game. I understand the disappointment, but she also has to be accountable for what she was trying to do, in my opinion. So they keep talking, and Hope points out that Hope for the Future has been sidelined for so long that people actually don't think it's coming back. And she mentioned how Steffi forced her to fire her own brother, Deke, you know, and that the Logan woman should not be punished for what her aunt, for what the Forresters feel that Aunt Katie did. Let me just say that because I am so sick to death of that narrative. Business is business. Let's move on. And so it gets to a point where Hope asks her mother, well, when Ridge was delivering the news of no to the co-CEO position, how did you react? And Brooke, girl, this is where Brooke lost me in the episode because I'm just like, use your brain, dummy. Brooke starts like, oh, well, one thing led to another, and me and Ridge. One, who the hell wants to hear that talk from their mom? I don't want to hear that. That's gross. Yes, I'm a grown up. She's a grown up too. I don't care. It's gross. Then it's just like totally insensitive. Hope was disgusted when she heard that. She was just like, okay, so you knew this whole thing would devastate me, and your first thought is to jump in bed with your husband. And Brooke's like, what? He's my husband. Like, I don't get it. Girl, it's because you are de-igmatized, like I said. That's why you don't get it. You put everything before, I mean, you put Ridge before everything else. Just like Hope said, I mean, biblically, that's what you're supposed to do. I get it, but girl, whatever. Anyway, so Hope was done after that. She left, and Brooke was just sitting there like, huh, I don't understand what's going on. So, so then we see the dream team at Forrester still. Zenday still in his little funk. RJ is making suggestions that Electra, could design jewelry for the new line, and Zenday is just over it. And RJ also asked, so they are in the showroom looking at Zenday's latest design. It's this cute red dress with like a little, I think it's a mer is it a mermaid cut? I don't know. It was a cute red lace dress, and RJ's just, trying to make it better, or just he's earning his fashion chops. Let's just say that. So he just asked the model, like, if you could change anything, what would you change? And she was like, one minor detail, just the zipper was hard to reach, blah blah blah. Zendaya is pissed about all of it. Pissed, okay? He just goes off into the corner, and Ridge goes and talks to him again, and it's just the same old. So then, after they are done in the design room, Zende and RJ end up in the other room. I'm sorry, they were done in the show room. They end up in the design room together, and RJ can pick up on the tension. So he and they just have a direct talk because this is a cousin that RJ actually appreciates, unlike Will. So he's just expressing to him, like, I don't want there to be any beef. I can learn a lot from you, and I'm not coming here to try to like oust you or dethrone you or anything like that. And Zende accepts this. There's no other way to say it. He's just like, I did feel away when Prince RJ came back, but now that we've had this conversation, it seems like they have gotten to an understanding, even though I don't trust neither one of them. I mean, RJ looked like he was being sincere. It's hard to tell with him because I feel like he's a snake. And Zende is too much of a flip flopper for the Foresters for me to ever believe anything he says. So, hmm, whatever. So yeah, they were able to smooth that out and blah blah blah. So then we go over to Logan and we see Bill and Katie and Liam, and they all agree that Ridge is just stringing Brooke along and that they still need Hope, because Logan is looking for their next fashion designer, and they want someone with like a decent enough name. And so that is why they are really looking at Hope, because although she is not a designer, she has her own line and she has the experience, and most importantly, she has the clout and the name. So yeah. They have been discussing this for like 2 weeks straight. I'm honestly tired about it because I agree with what they're saying. But yeah, it's just that. And Bill gave us a great reenactment of what he felt Brooke was doing in that moment. Oh, Ridge, he was like with lots of tears. Yes, Bill. Rich said no, and I can't do it, and oh. So then, right after his superb reenactment, Hope barges in. Okay, she is pissed. She comes in there, and Liam's like, oh no, immediately. And everyone can just see it on her face. And she tells the group what happened. And Bill's just like, I knew it. Katie, too. Katie has her reservations about Hope coming on, but she also understands how Hope is feeling because she felt the same way at Forrester. And Katie is trying to give her niece an out as well, while also helping herself. It's a win-win for everyone. So, oh my gosh. Eventually Liam and Hope are alone. And this is where Hope reveals to Liam Brooke's reaction to Ridge saying no to the co CEO. Liam, I mean, he was like, I know you're not telling me what I think you're telling me. After all of that, she hopped into bed with Ridge, and Liam got so mad. He was like, enough! We have had enough of this. And it is time, Hope, for you to come and work with Liam and your aunt. And then we're left hanging yet again. So then on Thursday, May 21st, we see Dylan and Electra interacting again. They just run into each other in the office. And surprisingly, Dylan tells Electra that Remy is my cousin, and I was shocked. I really didn't think that part would come out so quickly, They do throw me off sometimes. So Electra, of course, is horrified. And she's just like, she's very skeptical at first. And she's like, you expect me to believe that this is just a coincidence? But Dylan explains how she and Remy did not grow up together. They lived 4 states apart, and how she did not know anything about these deep fakes. And when Electra was telling her that the person who did it was Remy Price, Dylan was too shocked in the moment to say something. And she was just like, regardless, Dylan is disgusted with what her cousin did. And she was like, yeah, he's weird, okay? And that's what I told him when he was in here. And Electra was like, wait, what? He's been in here? And Dylan was like, yeah, twice, by the way. And Electra was just like, ugh, horrified to hear all of this. And you could see her working it out in her mind. But thankfully, because I'm tired of them beefing too. Like, let's just bury the hatchet. Towards the end of their conversation, Electra was like, you know what, you can't help who your cousin is. And she was actually thankful that Dylan was honest with her. And Dylan said that, like, I know people have like misled you and haven't been upfront with you, and she's learned her lesson. Dylan is doing the work, so I can deal with Dylan. She told her, and she told her that, yes, my cousin is a weirdo, and I told him to stay away from all of us, and I am 100% on your side, Electra. Because, yes, what he did is despicable and disgusting, and I don't want any parts of it. So Electra decides to keep going on with the friendship, and she thanks her for being honest. So great. So then we shoot on over to Logan, and Katie is ready to put aside her concerns regarding if Hope comes on, because Katie is hesitant because she does not want to do further damage to her relationship with her sister. But she's also like, I need this designer, and they're treating Hope like crap. This is a win-win for everybody. So she tells Hope that it's time to come out from under Steffi's arrogance, and I agree, and come to Logan. So Hope is still just hemming and hawing, and she says she'll consider it only if Deke can come too. And they're like, yes, absolutely. Like, whatever you want, you can have it. So then Hope promises that she will have an answer for them later. I'm like, girl, just get. Ugh. I I commend you for wanting to be loyal to Forrester Creations. That's where you started. That's where you made your name. I get it. But at this point, to me, the choice has been obvious. But I digress. So Hope says she's going to give them an answer soon, and she heads out. So then, Liam is just like, in his mind, he feels like it's a matter of time and that they just need to see how it all plays out. Okay. So then we also see Brooke and Steffi having a conversation. So Brooke comes into the office, and Ridge and Steffi are wondering how the conversation went with Hope, and Brooke was like, not good. Like, she's still very disillusioned and blah blah blah. And Steffi's just like, I promise you, this time I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's not personal. We have to uplift Eric, and he has to be the focal point for the company. Oh my gosh. Brooke understands and she agrees, but she is now pushing Ridge and Steffi to have a conversation with Hope, because she's just like, Hope needs to hear from you guys that she is valued and that she's not being iced out. I don't understand what's so hard to comprehend about this, Steffi. I'm really sick of it. Honestly, it's like you are being willfully dense at this point, and I hate that. Anyways, so then they wrap up their conversation, and Steffi is in the showroom when Hope has arrived at Forrester Creations again. And that conversation was sticky. I didn't like it. Hope is in there. She's just like, look, girl, I need to know. Do I have a future here or not? I need a date. And Steffi is she refuses to give a date. Okay? She just won't. And I'm like, why? Hope keeps saying she needs to know what the date is that her line will be relaunched so she can understand her future at this company. And Steffi's just like, eh. And that's basically how it ends. Because Steffi's like, I don't know what else to tell you. We've discussed this several times. We have to prioritize Eric's line because of what your aunt did. Oh my God. So Hope is still left with nothing on Thursday. So on Friday, May 22nd, we see Will return to the story. We haven't seen him in like a week or so. And it's evident that he wants Elektra back. This should have been wrapped up weeks ago when they found out Ivy was manipulating everything. I literally don't understand why they didn't reconcile. But I digress, okay? Will and Elektra are chatting in the office, and Dylan is there too, and everyone's getting along. And Will is happy that Dylan is, back on her feet, has a job there. He doesn't do anything inappropriate. Elektra walks out for a little bit, but then she comes back in and she sees them talking. But Will and Dylan, again, don't do anything inappropriate. And, Dylan was actually encouraging Will to go after Elektra again because she understands that Will wants and is in love with Elektra, even though Dylan has her own feelings for him. So, okay. So she's just encouraging a reconciliation despite her own feelings. And that's commendable, but I don't know. Anyways, so then we see Hope meeting up with Brooke again. And Hope, it's just the same. She tells Brooke this is just the latest example of you putting Ridge first. And she just doesn't know how much longer she can deal with any of it. And so Ridge and Steffi check in with Brooke once again. Hope is still really disillusioned, and they just need to be intentional about making Hope feel valued and giving her a firm date for Hope for the future. And it seems like Ridge and Steffi can agree to that because Ridge is saying, like, Hope is valuable here. We do value her. But he's not willing to rock the boat as it pertains to Steffi. He didn't say that, but it's clear. And Steffi's just digging her heels in per usual because she's Little Miss CEO. But okay. So that is basically what happened with that part. And let's see. Over at Logan, Donna is back again. Ugh. Donna is there expressing her disdain for what is going on. She doesn't want Katie to try to poach Hope. This will destroy the Logan family. But Katie's like, oh, but by the way, what about what Brooke's been doing to me and us? What about that? Because Donna was on their side a few weeks ago. But now she's on Brooke's side. And I'm sick of that. Who asked you? Why are you there? Bill was even like, don't you have an appointment to get something waxed? And I laughed out loud because it was so rude and dismissive, but also accurate. Because why are you here? Go be with your honey bear. Doesn't she work at Forrester? Does she work anymore? Anyways, whatever. So Donna was doing her absolute best. It was like devil on shoulder, angel on shoulder. I don't know who's who in the scenario. You got Donna on one shoulder. No, 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 don't do it, don't do it. And you got all the Spencers like, yes. And I'm on Team Spencer because this is ridiculous. So, she's just trying to pump the brakes on everything. And Bill and Katie and Liam are all right. So then they're still going back and forth. And Bill pulls out a fully drafted agreement. I was like, I don't know why I was so surprised, but like, yes, efficiency and yes. Okay. So they present her with the paperwork and a pen. And Katie's one side, like, this is your time, Hope. Look it over and come join this company. Everybody, Liam, Bill, everybody. Donna's like, don't do this. It's not worth it. Don't do it. I'm like, shut up, Donna. Shut up. Nobody is asking you. So then we were just left hanging with that. On Friday, we did not know what Hope's decision was, and we had to wait until today. So let's get into Monday, May 25th. So today's episode was a little different than last week's. We got to see the grand opening of Deacon's newest restaurant called Bikini. And we got absolutely zero buildup. He had mentioned, I remember months, maybe a month or two ago, like around when Liam and Hope were remarrying. I remember Deacon talking about wanting to open another restaurant, and he was looking for like what do you call it, investors. Bill was possibly one, whatever. And then we didn't see anything else until the freaking restaurant opened today. And it's basically Il Giardino. It's the same set, but it's just do that. So I'm curious to see how they are going to separate the two venues since they are the same venue. But okay. So Deacon is celebrating the success of the grand opening. It is very packed. It is jumping. It is clearly geared towards the youngsters, and they are in there. There's a long line at the door to get in. So great for Deacon. So then we see Taylor is there as well, as so is Finn. Yeah. So it's a bikini bar, and the theme is bikini. So we had to see Finn's chest. He was like the only one in that age bracket shirtless. Well, he wasn't shirtless. He had on his Hawaiian shirt, but it was all no buttons to be found, honey. Okay, Finn is clearly the thirst trap, the heart throb for this show. Him and Carter be naked a lot too, and I like that. But I mean, I like it too for Finn, but I'm also like, do you own a shirt? It's too much sometimes, but whatever. So Finn is there, and Taylor's there, and Deacon and Taylor are fully out in the in the open. They are just every second he has named a drink on his menu for Taylor, and oh my god! And Finn was like. Finn was just so uncomfortable at first. You can see he's like, oh, he was like, so you guys are just out here, huh? So Finn's like, so what about she? What about your mama, Finn? You haven't checked on her and you don't care about her. But he's like, so do you really think Sheila is out of the picture? Do you really think you're safe? And Taylor's like, oh, she's talking all this big trash now because Sheila hasn't been here. And she was just like, life is too short for us to not do what we want to do. And okay, but she wasn't saying that when you thought Sheila was about to knife you up in that room. But okay. So they are like, yeah, they feel good about it. And Deacon mentions how he's had some conversations with Sheila, just some texts, and Sheila is happy about him opening this restaurant and wishes him success. And she has not signed the divorce papers yet because it's still very hard for her to accept and process. But Deacon does not believe that Sheila is a threat anymore. hmm And he mentioned that, oh, she has a roommate. And Taylor was like, oh, she has a roommate. And then too, so I'm like, okay, so what are we building here? Because one, I thought Sheila was supposed to leave town. Did she do that? And two, who could her roommate be? Maybe it'll be Remy? Maybe Luna will come back from the dead, but I hear Luna's on another show, so maybe not. I am dying to see Sheila come back on this show, and I want to know who she's living with. But whatever, Deacon and Taylor are living in the bliss of their relationship, and so far, so good for now. All right, so then we also saw the young crew, RJ, Electra, Will, Dylan, the heifers from Forster Creations, who I hate, who are always just so thirsty for a man. Girl, go do some work. The models or whatever. So everyone's there having a good time. And RJ got there early with two of the models, like I said, ugh, yuck. And everyone, the woman at the door, her name is Jessica. Do we know Jessica? I don't know Jessica. She had a lot of speaker roles today, but I don't know her. And she was just like, "Oh, celebrities are here." And speaking of celebrities, you RJ, I'm supposed to. He is not a celebrity, but okay. Anyways, so they get there, and then a little later, Will and Electra arrive together. And RJ is hating from the second he sees them. Okay, he is not happy. All right. So then, Will and Electra are getting acclimated with the new, location. They're just taking it all in, like, hey, 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 oh my God, this is cool, whatever, whatever. So then they walk up and RJ approaches them and he was like, well, no, what he he approaches them and he's like, oh, you came with Will? And she was like, we came from work and we just rode together and oh, let's get a drink. She deflects very quickly. So all three of them go to the bar and then we find out that little Miss Dylan is working here part-time. She is never going back to the garage. She's working there part time and she surprises him because Will was at the bar like, what's up with the service? Where is the bartender? And she comes out. They're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? And she said, I wanted to surprise you guys. Like Deke set me up with this part time gig here, and how can I help you? And so Electra is very excited for Dylan. She's like, this is great. And then RJ was like, oh, you two were friends again. That's what you get, RJ. You can't poison Dylan against Electra and Will now. And Electra was like, yeah, we talked it out and I'm very happy we did. And I'm also hoping that all four of us can be friends again. And Will was like, and I agree. And RJ was like, and I also agree. So that's not happening no time soon, Electra. But you can have your little fairy tale and rose colored glasses if you would like. But whatever. So everyone's still just vibing out at Bikini, and then RJ has a little bit of time alone with Electra because Will gets a call from work. Oh, you still work. Anyways, and he was like, oh, so what's going on with you and Will, basically? And let me see what else he said. Oh, and that's when she was explaining how they came together, as if you have to explain anything to him, but okay. And then Will comes back over after he sees them having a little conversation and he kind of breaks things up. And he also gets another drink from the bar and it's a sex on the beach. And he has Electra trying it right in front of RJ, and RJ's like, So then he starts to bring up the whole Dylan situation again. And this is when Electra tells Will and RJ that Dylan actually told her that Remy has been at the office twice. And Will's like, that son of a bitch. Like, I'll take care of it. But then RJ's like, I'll keep an eye out too. It's like, oh my God. Oh, damsel in distress. I have two men on the lookout for me. Okay. So then, after this, show of chivalry, Will asks to have a private conversation with Electra, and so he takes her off to the couch, like a little lounge couch, while RJ goes to the bar with Dylan, and he is angry. Dylan is like, "Are you okay?" And RJ is like, "Yeah, whatever." So then Dylan and RJ are looking on as Will is once again pouring out his heart to this girl who frankly doesn't deserve it at this point, in my opinion. But he's like, he asks Electra, like, straight, he tells her, excuse me, he tells her that he wants to be with her. He has blinders on. She's the only woman he wants. And then he pulls out the Wii necklaces and he's like, I still have mine. Will you put yours back on? Can we get this back on track? And Alexa's just like, oh, and then we're left hanging per usual. So we will have to find out the answer hopefully tomorrow for that. And we leave this scene with RJ scowling from the bar. He is angry. And Dylan looks like, she's happy, but she's not happy because she wants that man too. But let's see where this goes. So then, all right, we also see Brooke, Ridge, and Steffi still just talking about everything. And Brooke's like, I don't want Hope to be squeezed out, and I don't want her alienated even further. And how Hope just needs to be reassured about her place there. And Brooke needs Hope to be happy and fulfilled, and she asks them again, you're begging these people, just talk to Hope and just please don't ice her out. So Steffi is like, I'm really sorry for how everything has been going, because Brooke also mentioned how bad it's been with Katie since this Logan thing. Not only did she steal Eric, she also stole the Logan name. Brooke, shut up! I'm so sick of this. They bought the ding dang designs, okay? Eric took his raggedy ass over there and asked for the work and got paid. Shut up. Anyways, so Steffi's apologizing for all of that. And you know what? Steffi actually had a human moment. Finally. She was like, you know what? We're about to set up a timeline for Eric's Couture line. So we will prioritize Pope for the future next in terms of setting up an actual timeline, and we will give Hope a definitive, specific date of relaunch next week. And Brooke is like, oh my God, thank you so much. This is all I wanted. And having Hope at Forster Creations means more to her than anything. So let's get into the ending of today. So we go back over to Logan. Donna is still talking her crap as just shut up. No, don't do this. Don't do this. It's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. It's too big a price to pay. And Hope was like, look, Donna, I am very aware of the severity of my decision here. I know all hell will break loose, but also I am sick to death of dealing with Forrester. And she doesn't want to deal with it anymore. So then you know they keep bring Donna is just like, there's been too much suffering to date, and what Katie did, and blah blah blah. Shut up. So then Hope is still in the middle of trying to make her decision. She gets a text from Deacon in the middle of it, and she's like, oh, it's my dad. He opened his new restaurant today, and everyone's being very nice. Even Billy's like, oh, that's great. You know what? We could go there and celebrate after you sign these papers. So, Hope then gives her little monologue, okay? She's very proud of what she's done at Forrester, but Steffi keeps trying to strip her of her power. And she asked Brooke to stand up for her and herself, but instead, her mother opted to hop into bed with Ridge. And what could Donna say at that point? She was just like, because this also came up earlier when Donna was begging and pleading, and Hope was like, well, my mother reacted by jumping into bed with her husband. And Donna was like, oh my God, dang it. You know? So then Hope is just basically going through this out loud, and she is saying how she is done with her mother as well in terms of looking to her to help in this type of situation because Hope was like, Brooke's actions have shown me that Ridge will always come first. And that's where her loyalties lie. And so Hope finally agrees to come on board as long as Deke is part of the deal because she was like, it was totally unfair for him to be fired over there and he really didn't get a chance and she needs her brother to have this opportunity. And Katie's like, yes, done. Whatever you want. And Hope signs on the dotted line. I was like, yes, thank God. Donna is very disappointed. The rest of the room is thrilled, cheering, even clapping, hugging, thrilled. So then Katie's like, you know what? I'm very excited. I'm very happy, but this has to be a secret. Everybody in this room, it has to be a secret. And they're all looking at Donna. And Donna had already said she wasn't keeping any more secrets and she just doesn't want to go along with this. But then Hope has a heart to heart with her aunt. And she's like, this is what I want, Aunt Donna. And please do not say anything to Brooke or Eric about this decision because basically they are saying no one can know until the line is done. Now, that is going to be very hard to maneuver, in my opinion, but let's see how it plays out. So then Donna reluctantly agrees. She's like, fine. I'm tired of being put in the middle of this stuff. I don't think it's going to have a good outcome, but I will keep my mouth shut for you. Okay? Because she thinks, Brooke will just be totally let down and she will never accept this. So then everyone leaves and Liam and Hope are together just by themselves. And Liam's like, so how do you feel? And Hope is just saying that she thinks the change is good, but she is very scared. Liam also thinks the change is good and necessary. Hope is terrified of, she's just nervous because she doesn't know how this is going to play out with her mother. She thinks that she's going to let her mother down. And Liam was like, well, the alternative is letting your own dreams down. So basically, who are you going to choose, yourself or your mother? And Hope is choosing herself, as she should. So, Liam is very excited. He thinks this is absolutely the right move, how they're going to be rock stars and how they're going to make sure the new line is going to be a hit. And he reminds Hope, nobody can know about this until the line drops. So they are hugging, and Liam's like, one side, and Hope is scared on the other side. So we now know that Hope has officially signed on to join Logan right at the time where Steffi finally freaking agrees to give Hope a timeline. Why on earth didn't you just do this 2 weeks ago? We wouldn't have had to go with this. Steffi is such a bullheaded, like, I can do no wrong. I don't need to listen to anyone. I hope she is held fully accountable for this because this is her fault. Plain and simple. Brooke tried and she pieced out on her daughter. I understood why she did though, but at the end of the day, this is Steffi's fault. Ridge tried to warn her. Carter, who had a whole relationship with Hope, tried to warn her, but she just would not listen. So now her agreeing to give this timeline is a little too late. But let us see what happens because I will be livid if Hope, once she finds out that Steffi finally relented, I will be livid if Hope tries to get out of this contract. If she pulls another Eric, I'm protesting. But yes, that is what happened between May 18th and May 25th. Thank you guys for sticking around for this long update. I'm going to try to get my act together and get back on track. But yes, it was my baby's birthday, so I have no real regrets. Happy Monday, y'all. Happy Memorial Day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.